Okay, guys, welcome to Channel Weird. I'm Clyde Lewis, and we're very, very, very happy and proud to have with us a very special guest. Now, what had happened is Ron Patton, who produces this show, handed me a cell phone or a smartphone book, and it's called "More on the Exegesis: Philip K. Dick's Religious Speculations, a Work in Progress" by Tessa Dick, who is the former wife of Philip K. Dick. Now, if you don't know who Philip K. Dick is, I mean, in fact, I was at a Starbucks today and I mentioned Philip K. Dick, and the guy looked at me like I was, on another planet. And I said, "Well, have you ever seen Blade Runner? Have you ever see Total Recall or Minority Report?" I said, "All of those movies, all of those stories were written by the great Philip K. Dick, and one of my favorite authors, uh, science fiction authors, more so because much of what he wrote, and now posthumously, he is one of the greatest writers. Most of our science fiction that we see in movies today comes from Philip K. Dick. But Tessa B. Dick has been a great friend of the show Ground Zero, a great friend and listener of my show, and I've been very proud to be. I have contact with her every once in a great while, see how she's doing, and today on Channel Weird, we have Tessa with us, Tessa B. Dick, who is the former wife of Philip K. Dick. And so let's just get right on it. Tessa, you there?
I think so.
That's good. I'm glad you're there. How you doing? Have you had a great holiday? Did you do well?
Oh, did all right. And actually, a couple weeks into January, my family came up here to visit because this little rural community is less freaked out about all the mask nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's odd. I mean, as we go through our daily lives, I can't help but think. If Philip were alive today, what do you think he would think? What do you think that he would say about? Uh, I guess you could call it some of the things that are happening today that he actually wrote about a long time ago.
Oh, he'd say it's happening. He was right. And you wish he had been wrong.
Yeah, I would say that that's true because there are a lot of people who are futurists, or at least have an inclination of the way things are going. They've read some of the old stories. People like Orwell and Huxley, and of course, Philip could be one of those. I mean, you look at Bradbury, what he wrote, and Asimov, what they wrote. But Philip was more into, well, from what I gather, he was very Gnostic in his approach. He now, as I was reading in this work in progress, the Ex and Exegesis, he was an Episcopalian, but yet he was very Gnostic in his beliefs. Am I right?
Well, yes, he shared a lot of their views and sometimes claimed to be a Gnostic, but in other ways he was more almost Orthodox Episcopalian, which is like Catholic light.
Hmm.
No Pope and no Queen.
Right. That's the whole thing, is that you have religion without a pope and a queen. And also too, I mean, there are so many I guess metaphors that were developed in the exegesis, especially after the encounter, I don't know what you'd call it, with Valis, which of course was according to him an intelligence that had beamed information to him, and this is where people started wondering if he was losing his mind. What were your thoughts on that? I mean, when the guy says he's getting intelligence from somewhere, whether it be extraterrestrial or what have you, I mean, I'm sure that you start thinking to yourself, this guy's lost his mind, but yet he was the most profound writers of science fiction and, of course, speculative fiction that eventually has transpired.
Well, I think people were kind of hoodwinked. They began to believe that the plots he was spinning out for his novels were what really happened. And Phil, being a bit of a prankster went ahead and let them believe that.
Right.
He was having fun with it. And he used to question whether he was nuts. He'd question his sanity himself. But other than emotional outbursts from time to time, he was a very level-headed person. Had no use for things like Ouija boards and New Agey stuff. He wasn't into that. And yet here was this stuff happening to him, and not only in this pink beam experience, but really throughout his life from early childhood. There was a time, for example, when he got lost at a day camp, and a man took him by the hand and led him back to his group. And when little 7-year-old Phil looked up to say thank you, the man was gone.
So this had been going on prior to the Vallis experience, and he'd been having paranormal experiences long before he started putting things to paper.
Right. And his favorite aunt, Marion, Dorothy's sister, was a trance medium. And in his early adulthood, Phil was friends with Bishop Pike, who was going to seances to try to contact the spirit of his dead son. And Phil attended at least 2 of those seances. And for the most part, although he was not impressed with the medium, he did think that one of them contacted something, that it was not human. Just some really evil kind of entity that had no body of its own and spoke through the medium. I'm glad I wasn't there.
Well, I mean, you say you're glad you wasn't there. Why? Do you have a problem with this? Do you have a sort of anxiety about contact, if there is contact on the other side?
Ever since the Ouija board that wouldn't burn, I used it once at the urging of a neighbor, and weird things happened afterward. And when we moved out of that house, I tried to burn this wooden Ouija board in the fireplace, and it wouldn't burn. After 3 fires trying to get that thing to burn, I had it blackened and singed, but still not burned up. And it was made of wood, so what's up with that?
There have always been stories of people. I mean, I've used a Ouija board. I don't like using them. I've used them many times on the air, and even though I use one from time to time, just to show that a lot of it has a lot of deeper. It's like using a switchboard to the other side, but it comes through you. And I think a lot of people forget that whatever comes at you may be coming from within you. And I think a lot of the time we don't realize just how easy it is for us to tap into the divine and profane. And I think that it's kind of a hit and miss thing. Sometimes you'll get knowledge that will carry you, and other times you get something that reminds you just how fragile you can be spiritually.
Well, as Phil used to say, yes, you can contact something, but you don't know what it is, and it might not like you.
Right. Well, he didn't. Yeah, like you say, he didn't use New Age stuff for Ouija boards, but yet he was receiving messages. He was receiving something. And do you think that was because he was involved with mediums, or do you think that he was just chosen?
I think it had more to do with the constant trauma he experienced ever since his house was burglarized and torn apart and vandalized. That was before I met him. And Again, I'm glad I was not there. But he was under constant stress because he never knew who did it or why. But his house was being surveilled by somebody. I mean, open surveillance. They wanted him to know. And the sheriff advised him to leave the county, not just the town. And he did. But he ended up kidnapped in Canada. And in this experience, he was retrieving memories that he had suppressed. But I don't think he ever put together all of the pieces. And I'm still putting them together myself. In this book I'm working on, it started as an attempt to explain his exegesis, but in researching it, I'm finding more and more of his history that explains why someone would think he was some kind of terrorist or drug dealer or some kind of traitor. During the Nixon administration, Phil always thought Nixon personally had put him on some list, and I don't think that's what happened. But he had a very tenuous connection to Dr. Timothy Leary, and Phil's troubles began after Leary escaped from prison. So they must have thought that Phil had helped Leary to escape.
Did Leary, was it Leary that influenced him into using drugs and alcohol, or was that something that came later?
No, most of Phil's drugs were prescriptions from the doctor. He would smoke a joint if someone passed it to him, but he didn't normally seek out street drugs. He really wouldn't even take an aspirin when I first met him. He had an aversion to pills of any kind, and he never injected anything. But if someone handed him marijuana, he would smoke it.
Because there's always been that spin, of course, that he was that kind of a person. Now, why would they spread that kind of rumor about Philip K. Dick? Why would they be passing that around? Was that a smear campaign to make him look bad?
Well, he did dabble, and at first he tried to deny it, and oh, you're in denial, go get help. So he just decided to exaggerate to the point where he was saying that he was on all these drugs when he was not, just to get them off his back and to have a little fun. He was really into what he called shucking people, telling stories that they would believe, like his dramatic presentation of his Clyde experience, which was very real, but it was not what he put in his novels. It was just the beginning of retrieving some memories that he had suppressed. And he did diagnose our baby's hernia, but it wasn't that dramatic. No rushing to the emergency room. Phil just got out of bed where he was napping, and he appeared to be in a trance. He came out to the living room and told me to call the doctor and tell him that our son had a hernia. And Phil went back to bed. So I called the doctor and made an appointment. And at the time, our son was... Whoa. Are we coming up on a break?
Yeah, we're coming up on a break. Stand by. Tessa B. Dick with us, the former wife of science fiction writer Philip K. Dick. We'll be back with more right here on Channel Weird. Don't go away. On the phone with me is Ronnie from getthetea.com. Hey, Ronnie, it is the tea that makes you go, I know this because I use it. My favorite is pomegranate. What kind of flavors are there to choose from with this wonderful tea?
You can do pomegranate. You can do just the straight, which is real good. And also we have a mint, a peppermint. People really love that one too. And we have a couple new flavors on the way, which I will not discuss yet, but they're coming.
You know, a lot of people don't know that peppermint is a very, very good supplement to keep the stomach happy. It relaxes the intestines, and once again, it makes you feel better because it allows them to move around and get that stuff out of you, that bad stuff out of you.
Absolutely. This is a digest mover. So people have a hard time digesting stuff, or you get something stuck, or maybe you're a real heavy meat eater. The tea is wonderful. That's why it's tagline, the tea that makes you go.
If I want my life to change and get the tea, where do I go to get it?
Getthetea.com. That's getthetea, TEA.com.
Fantastic. Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero. You know, with the rise of the cancel culture and an increase in social media censorship, we needed to make a big change. So we decided to create a very unique digital platform. It's called Aftermath.media. It's an exclusive online multimedia library featuring an interactive social media section with a chat room, videos, audio clips, archived Ground Zero podcasts, documents, books, and magazines. Our news aggregator provides current news relating to many of the topics we cover. We're expanding our research and study groups as well, which presently includes Tracy Twyman, William Cooper, Mae Brussel, and Jim Keith. Also, check out popular podcast Conspirafact with Wes and Bill. Updated apps will be available soon. The monthly subscription for Aftermath is only $10 a month, and if you sign up now for the yearly subscription, it's only $79. If you want to hear the shows you love and support Great Talk Radio, go to Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media. It's all over the news, food shortages and scarcity in the supply chain. And the reality is nobody truly knows what might happen in the near future. Hi, I'm Clyde Lewis, and I want to let you know that it's a good idea to plan ahead so you aren't caught off guard. Nothing's more important than having enough food to eat, and we're here to help. We highly recommend My Patriot Supply, America's leading emergency preparedness company. They provide long-term emergency food that lasts up to 25 years in storage. When grocery stores run empty or disasters strike, their foods will be there when you need them most. Act now and secure at least a 4-week emergency food kit full of tasty meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. They have dozens of emergency food storage kits to choose from, along with a variety of other survival products. If the government tells you not to go out, you can have the peace of mind that comes from being prepared. After you order from My Patriot Supply, your food will arrive discreetly at your doorstep. Prepare today, because time is short. Go to preparewithgroundzero.com. That's preparewithgroundzero.com.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
Tessa Dick today on Channel Weird. I'm Clyde Lewis, and welcome back. Having an in-depth interview with Tessa today, and talking about Philip, and talking about some of the things that were rumored about Philip K. Dick, and other things that trying to dispel the rumors and myths about the man. one of the greatest science fiction writers, and of course, posthumously, probably the most successful in terms of having stories and movies and TV shows made about his writings, such as Man in the High Castle, Blade Runner, Minority Report, Total Recall. All of these are fascinating stories that are short stories that have been put to books, and you can read them. They're remarkable. And we were talking earlier about some of the things that Philip is known for, and you were talking about the what was it? The diagnosing the hernia in the baby. That was one of those stories as well. And what were you were going to wrap that up before we went to break?
Yeah, well, then we had a good cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Well, our son was too young to have the corrective surgery. So for 4 months, we could not let him cry because the specialist said that if he cried too much, the hernia could strangulate and become life-threatening. So, unlike the novels in which we rushed to the emergency room, it was a matter of no sleep for either of us for 4 months because we could not let the baby cry.
I was thinking about, you were talking about the exegesis there for a while, and we were talking about what Philip K. Dick did with the exegesis is he was using religious writings and giving his own interpretation of them. And one of the things that sticks out for me is the Iron Prison story, basically speculating that we are all in this matrix-like existence. He even he was one of the first to talk about the idea that we live in a simulation, that what we are is we're basically in some like encyclopedia or matrix or whatever that's being looked upon or replayed for some intelligence. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, yes, the computer-generated reality. That was part of his speech in Metz, France in 1977.
Yes.
And to some extent, he actually saw it out in the real world, but he was aware that it's a metaphor. On the other hand, astrophysicists who have a reputation for walking into the weird are really seriously considering that we might be in a simulation. Most of what we call matter is made up of what we call space. For hydrogen atom were the size of a golf ball, the electron in orbit around it would be 3 miles away with nothing in between. It just doesn't seem very real to me.
Well, I was going to say, I think a lot of people, whether they know it or not, actually believe we're in a simulation because we have so many theories about what the Earth is like, from flat Earth to several other theories. We have people who claim that they've experienced glitches, deja vu, Mandela effects. I mean, all these things that are relatively new basically speculates that we are somehow in a multidimensional type of matrix or a multiverse that began as a metaverse. And so all of these things, this, I guess you could call it the counterfeit existence, or the idea of having an artificial existence, is in its infancy now, and so we're heading towards that artificial existence.
Oh yeah, over the years, ever since a caller to Art Bell said that his college textbook said that Billy the Kid died in prison, and he knew that Billy the Kid had been shot out on the trail while escaping from the jail. I've read at least 6 different official stories of how Billy the Kid died. So to my mind, you don't have to change history. Just change the history books. On the other hand, that might be a big smokescreen to cover up the fact that our past really is changing. It's malleable, like what Phil used to call a silly putty universe.
Right. Well, it was, when he talks about the silly putty universe, it was one of the first introductions I had to what is known as retrocausality, and the idea that the reason why our past is changing is because something in the future has basically been tinkering with it. That we answer to the future events rather than in our present events. That whatever happens in the future, it's like I always tell people, retrocausality is I guess you could say, the stomachache you get from a bad egg salad sandwich you eat 3 days in advance or 3 days before you get sick.
We just lost Tessa. Sorry.
Oh, we just lost Tessa.
Yeah, she just dropped off. I'll try to get her back right now.
Okay, so we're going to try to get Tessa back. I heard her say, uh-oh, and I was wondering what that meant. Maybe her phone has died or something has gone wrong. But today on Channel Weird, we have Tessa B. Dick, who is the former wife of Philip K. Dick, who was, one of those authors that, I think a lot of people are well aware of Philip's work, but I think a lot of people don't understand that he was
I think we got her back
very
now.
prophetic. Are you back, Tessa?
Yeah, you must be using Bluetooth.
I don't know what we're using, actually. We are using Bluetooth, yes. I'm sorry that...
you're dropping out again.
Oh, am I dropping out again? Oh, we had technical difficulties last week. I'm hoping we can rectify those because this is a very interesting interview and getting into some of the things now, talking about the simulation, talking about what I call retrocausality, the idea that future events are actually changing the past. And there have been times in my life where I have talked to people about this. And I remember feeling it a lot more when I saw the TV show Man in the High Castle, that, if events were to change, how would we deal with, an event that is only speculated about? And that's why they were trying to, in another reality, the war was won by the United States and Russia rather than Germany and Japan. It's a wonderful take on the idea that there are different realities that certainly are now coming to be with the multiverse idea.
Well, remember the movie Red Dawn? The first version was Russians invading the U.S., and the remake was China invading the U.S.
Right.
I think a lot of this is just like Wag the Dog.
What do you think about the Russian-Ukrainian situation? Do you think that's a Wag the Dog situation?
I think Putin is playing chess and Biden forgot how to play checkers.
It's funny, getting back to, what Philip wrote back in the day. Remember that short story In the Mold of Yancey? I think that Joe Biden is Yancey. He just certainly strikes me as the guy who, puts on his shoes and his sweater and he acts all nice and kind. And sometimes he sounds like a weird old man asking people to get off his lawn. What are your thoughts on that?
I can't help thinking of Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers with a big stick, or at least a very belligerent side to him, right?
Yeah, and of course, Mr. Rogers was an all-around nice guy, but the sweater and all. Yeah, Phil caught on fairly early that ever since they killed Kennedy, our presidents have been figureheads.
Yeah. Didn't he pattern, though, Yancey after Eisenhower? I got the feeling that that's who he was trying to pattern after, but we've had a lot of Yanceys in our presidency, like Ronald Reagan was kind of the Yancey type, and Jimmy Carter was a Yancey type. And I think Biden fits the mold a lot more because, like it was said, Yancey was being fed what to say, and that there were people running the show behind the scenes, and he was just the figurehead.
Yeah, but Yancey could read the teleprompter.
Yes, he could. That's true. Well, we've seen that before, though, that, we've speculated about this. And I remember there was a question that was given by a commentator to Kamala Harris. Somebody said, "Who's really running the presidency?" And she got all weirded out and pissed off about it. And I'm thinking, well, that's what a lot of Americans are wondering: who's really running the show? And that's why I always, go back to when Philip K. Dick wrote that story. It's like, yeah, who's really running the show, and what program are they going to put into him next? They'll have him say the things that the people want to hear, and then go off and be, I guess you could say, I don't know how it was afterwards. I mean, he was just a program.
I think that whoever really is running it has to be somebody that we've never heard of. If you've heard of the person like George Soros or Nancy Pelosi or Hillary, they're also figureheads.
Yeah.
They might think they have power, but they don't.
So, you, like me, believe that there's some outside influence that's, I'd say global outside influence that's running the show right now. Would you say that it would be the cabal that would be, I don't know, the World Economic Forum or the International Monetary Fund, groups like that, or Bilderbergs? Do you think that there are these, sinister people who meet in Switzerland and basically direct everything we do?
I think they convince themselves that they're doing the right thing, that they're good, but they have this problem of thinking that there's too many people.
Yeah, the culling process, the idea that we need population control.
Yeah, they want to keep enough people to provide them with luxury, but not enough people to rise up against them.
I've never thought of it that way. That, they want enough people involved that can give them what they need, that they can enslave. And I was making the comment the other night that it seems like we're being colonized, that we don't know that we're being colonized, but we are. There's a group of individuals that are colonizing us, and they're putting people, little Yanceys, in the places of power. Like, for example, Trudeau. He's a perfect example of someone who's been mentored by what I call these 39, 40 unelected officials that make decisions in Davos.
Yeah, well, he does have amazing hair, but there doesn't seem to be any brain underneath it.
Yeah, I just think that what he's doing anymore is immoral. I mean, people talk about constitutional rights, and they talk about all that, but just the idea of freezing the accounts of all those protesters and then calling them not real people, calling them names. I mean, this is something that, we can always, everybody says Hitler here and Hitler there, but this is definitely some Hitlerian, Mussolini, Mao stuff that's going on here.
And freezing the accounts of anybody who donated.
I mean, did you ever think you'd see the day when, and people just, they don't care. And they don't realize that they could be next. They don't realize that in a cashless world that they could easily control the money and tell you, you don't get to spend your money because you decided to participate in a political rally that we don't approve of.
Yeah, all those horrible people picked up trash and shoveled snow and fed the homeless. We can't have that.
I just don't understand why people are just letting this happen. I don't know what needs to be done. I figure it's because of dependence. I always say we're so dependent on things in this country that we're afraid to let go because we've been so codependent on government, so codependent on luxuries, codependent on our urban sprawl, football games, and beer. It's just insane. Tessa Dick with us. We're going to take a break, and then I want to hear what you have to say. Tessa Dick, coming up on Channel Weird. We're going to take a quick break and back with Tessa B. Dick right here on Channel Weird. We'll see you. Just hold on. We'll be right there. Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero. With the rise of the cancel culture and an increase in social media censorship, we needed to make a big change. So we decided to create a very unique digital platform. It's called Aftermath.media. It's an exclusive online multimedia library featuring an interactive social media section with a chat room, videos, audio clips, archived Ground Zero podcasts, documents, books, and magazines. Our news aggregator provides current news relating to many of the topics we cover. We're expanding our research and study groups as well, which presently includes Tracy Twyman, William Cooper, Mae Brussel, and Jim Keith. Also, check out popular podcast Conspirafact with Wes and Bill. Updated apps will be available soon. The monthly subscription for Aftermath is only $10 a month, and if you sign up now for the yearly subscription, it's only $79. If you want to hear the shows you love and support Great Talk Radio, go to aftermath.media. Again, that's aftermath.media. On the phone with me is Ronnie from getthetea.com. Hey, Ronnie, it is the tea that makes you go, I know this because I use it. My favorite is pomegranate. What kind of flavors are there to choose from with this wonderful tea?
You can do pomegranate. You can do just the straight, which is real good. And also we have a mint, a peppermint. People really love that one too. And we have a couple new flavors on the way, which I will not discuss yet, but they're coming.
You know, a lot of people don't know that peppermint is a very, very good supplement to keep the stomach happy. It relaxes the intestines, and once again, it makes you feel better because it allows them to move around and get that stuff out of you, that bad stuff out of you.
Absolutely. This is a digest mover. So people have a hard time digesting stuff, or you get something stuck, or maybe you're a real heavy meat eater. The tea is wonderful. That's why it's tagline, the tea that makes you go.
If I want my life to change and get the tea, where do I go to get it?
Getthetea.com. That's getthetea, TEA.com.
Fantastic. It's all over the news, food shortages and scarcity in the supply chain. And the reality is nobody truly knows what might happen in the near future. Hi, I'm Clyde Lewis, and I want to let you know that it's a good idea to plan ahead so you aren't caught off guard. Nothing's more important than having enough food to eat, and we're here to help. We highly recommend My Patriot Supply, America's leading emergency preparedness company. They provide long-term emergency food that lasts up to 25 years in storage. When grocery stores run empty or disasters strike, their foods will be there when you need them most. Act now and secure at least a 4-week emergency food kit full of tasty meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. They have dozens of emergency food storage kits to choose from, along with a variety of other survival products. If the government tells you not to go out, you can have the peace of mind that comes from being prepared. After you order from My Patriot Supply, your food will arrive discreetly at your doorstep. Prepare today, because time is short. Go to preparewithgroundzero.com. That's preparewithgroundzero.com.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
Tessa B. Dick today on Channel Weird, talking about everything Philip K. Dick and beyond. We were just talking about situation with our leadership, and I kind of springboarded it from the Mold of Yancey. It was a story that one of my favorite stories was written by Philip K. Dick that I read. I think it can be found in the Minority Report short story book, and so we were talking about the situation with the truckers. Talking about Justin Trudeau. We're talking about the possibility that we have a global leadership or a global synarch that is in the background running the show, just like in the book or in the short story, The Mold of Yancey. And I just, that was one of the things that for the longest time I was always told when I was a kid, that the leaders, I think it was Benjamin Disraeli that said that the leaders that you see are not the leaders that are necessarily running the show, that there are darker forces that seem to be at the controls of this planet, and that we're constantly fighting. But I think that, I don't know how you feel about this, but I think that a lot of people have given up the fight. I think that I think that once they unleashed COVID-19, we immediately turned into people who decided we didn't want to. We were so frightened of dying that we were deciding that we didn't want to live anymore.
Oh, it's kind of like that movie Network. Just give us our TVs and our radial tires and leave us alone.
Right.
Look what happens when the power grid goes full panic.
Mm-hmm.
And up here on the mountain, around New Year's, the internet was down for 3 days. And for some people, it was a whole week. People were in withdrawals. So imagine you've got a government that says you can't go in a restaurant, you can't have a job, you have to have, they've already had 2 shots. No, that's not good enough. You have to have a 3rd shot and wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
A few people have simply had it, but quite a few. I think it appears to be half and half in Canada. About half the people have had it, but the other half are like, oh, well, it's for our own good.
Oh, yeah. They always say that. They say it's for the greater good. You know, I was listening to the radio yesterday, and they were talking about reports in California that they've lifted mask mandates, they've lifted all the restrictions, and yet there are still people that are saying that you cannot enter their restaurant or their hair salon or whatever unless you wear a mask or you can prove that you've been vaccinated. And I say to myself, what is going on with people? If you've got the go-ahead that we got the all clear, why are people still frightened, and why do they continue to do this? Why don't they see it as, finally, we can get through this and we're fine? They still are scared. They're still afraid.
Well, I'm fortunate to live in a rural mountain community where people are not quite as frightened. I think a lot of our problem comes from big cities. Remember, after the flood, the one thing that made God angry was the people sat down and built Babylon. Not only the tower, but a whole city. We weren't made to live in big cities like Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco. It's not healthy. It dulls our senses and our minds. And we get used to being herded into small spaces and told what to do. And it becomes a habit.
A lot like what Philip called the Iron Prison. I remember reading about the Iron Prison, saying that we're all stuck in this prison planet. And I know that term has been associated with people like Alex Jones and others. But the truth is that prison planet idea, that what they call the dark prison or the iron prison idea, was Philip K. Dick's idea. That's what he was saying. He says we are all, I think what he said, something to the effect that we're all superheroes that have chosen to come here. We're in this prison, and then once we die or once we find a way to become superheroes again is when we decide that we want to leave.
Wow.
Yeah.
Phil's work still blows my mind. He literally saw the prison. We were walking down the alley with apartment complexes on both sides, and some of the windows did have bars to keep out burglars, but Phil saw it more as a way to keep people in these little boxes.
It's like that song, "Little Boxes on the Hillside." It's true. We all. Something about, you were talking about the electric grid. You were talking about dependence. We were talking about dependence earlier, and something that a lot of people don't think about is that you have a house or you have an apartment that you live in. If you're not homeless, you live in an apartment or a house or a cabin or something that's, it's 4 corners. It has a roof on it, and if it's warm and if it's comfortable, it's great. But if it becomes cold and if it becomes unclean, it becomes a box. And that's all it is. It's a box, and you're stuck in this box where it's cold and uncomfortable. And I think that's the thing. We've been so used to the idea of comfort, so dependent on the idea of television and internet and conveniences, that once those things are lifted, I mean, they're saying at the World Economic Forum that in the future you will own nothing and be happy. How can anyone be happy if they don't own something, or if they don't have something to maintain, or something to look forward to, or any goals that they can make? I don't understand how that can make anyone happy.
Well, it'll be unlawful to be unhappy.
So you're talking about happiness as being mandatory.
At the end of 1984, I've forgotten the character's name, but
Winston?
When he finally said, okay, you're holding up so many fingers.
Mm-hmm.
The
O'Brien said to Winston, how many fingers am I holding up?
Yeah. Well, O'Brien told him that isn't good enough. You have to believe it.
It's so true. How many times have we been told by the media that 2 + 2 = 5?
Oh, well, see, that's the right answer because you tried.
The new math, right?
Uh-huh.
That's so, I mean, I don't know why people aren't registering this. Maybe we just didn't pay attention in high school. Maybe we didn't pay attention in history class. Or maybe they're just not teaching this type of literature that was important literature, or giving us a future. I mean, hell, Orwell was satire. A lot of what Philip K. Dick wrote was satire in a way, right?
Right. He wasn't so much trying to predict the future as to exaggerate and embellish what he saw already going on.
Right.
And, I remember when I was a kid, I hated getting graded on effort. How does the teacher know how hard I tried? I mean, really.
Well, and now, I mean, here where I'm at, they basically said, well, you don't need reading and writing skills or mathematics skills to get out of high school because it's too competitive for those who are of color. And I'm thinking, how racist is this? What kind of racism are we allowing here?
Yeah, they think because your skin is dark or you speak Spanish, you're stupid.
I know, and they don't, and people don't see that. When they think, oh, they're giving those people an opportunity. Do you realize that just saying that alone, that those people are getting an opportunity makes you a racist? It's like they're just as equal as everybody else. Why the hell do you feel like that? Well, they don't. It's not.
No.
It's silly.
Technically, I'm passing for white.
Technically.
My grandpa was passing, and his father couldn't pass.
You identify as, white, I guess.
I identify as a transgender athlete winning the Olympics.
Tessa Dick with us right here on Channel Weird. We'll be back with more. Find out more about the books that she's writing right now. And right here at Channel Weird. Don't go away.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
It's all over the news. Food shortages and scarcity in the supply chain. And the reality is nobody truly knows what might happen in the near future. Hi, I'm Clyde Lewis, and I want to let you know that it's a good idea to plan ahead so you aren't caught off guard. Nothing's more important than having enough food to eat. and we're here to help. We highly recommend My Patriot Supply, America's leading emergency preparedness company. They provide long-term emergency food that lasts up to 25 years in storage. When grocery stores run empty or disasters strike, their foods will be there when you need them most. Act now and secure at least a 4-week emergency food kit full of tasty meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. They have dozens of emergency food storage kits to choose from, along with a variety of other survival products. If the government tells you not to go out, you can have the peace of mind that comes from being prepared. After you order from My Patriot Supply, your food will arrive discreetly at your doorstep. Prepare today, because time is short. Go to preparewithgroundzero.com. That's preparewithgroundzero.com. Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero. You know, with the rise of the cancel culture and an increase in social media censorship, we need to make a big change. So we decided to create a very unique digital platform. It's called Aftermath.media. It's an exclusive online multimedia library featuring an interactive social media section with a chat room, videos, audio clips, archived Ground Zero podcasts, documents, books, and magazines. Our news aggregator provides current news relating to many of the topics we cover. We're expanding our research and study groups as well, which presently includes Tracy Twyman, William Cooper, Mae Brussel, and Jim Keith. Also, check out popular podcast Conspirafact with Wes and Bill. Updated apps will be available soon. The monthly subscription for Aftermath is only $10 a month, and if you sign up now for the yearly subscription, it's only $79. You want to hear the shows you love and support Great Talk Radio. Go to Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media. On the phone with me is Ronnie from GetTheTea.com. Hey, Ronnie, it is the tea that makes you go, I know this because I use it. My favorite is pomegranate. What kind of flavors are there to choose from with this wonderful tea?
You can do pomegranate. You can do just the straight, which is real good. And also we have a mint, a peppermint. People really love that one too. And we have a couple new flavors on the way, which I will not discuss yet, but they're coming.
You know, a lot of people don't know that peppermint is a very, very good supplement to keep the stomach happy. It relaxes the intestines, and once again, it makes you feel better because it allows them to move around and get that stuff out of you, that bad stuff out of you.
Absolutely. This is a digest mover. So people have a hard time digesting stuff, or you get something stuck, or maybe you're a real heavy meat eater. The tea is wonderful. That's why it's tagline, the tea that makes you go.
If I want my life to change and get the tea, where do I go to get it?
GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea, TEA.com.
Fantastic. Tessa Dick with us on Channel Weird. Such a great conversation with such a great human being, and we're glad to have her here with us. So we're in this last segment of Channel Weird, and I was just curious. We've had a great conversation. I know you're working on some books. You're working on a few things. Tell us about what you're doing right now.
Well, I've been digging into the exegesis for a couple of years. It was really never finished. Phil was taking notes and doing research to the extent that he could, trying to understand his experience of 1974 with some kind of visions. And he did delve into Gnosticism, but more particularly dualism, the idea of two gods, a good God and an evil God battling it out. And we are both the battleground and the prize. But there's more to it than that. He came to understand that he had been targeted not so much by, maybe right-wing extremists or even anti-communists like the McCarthy era, but more an organized government agency. And my best guess is that it was the Drug Enforcement Administration that President Nixon set up to fight the war on drugs, which we've lost over and over, but we keep on going into battle.
Do you think maybe, again, let's go back to Timothy Leary. He was also apparently, he was friends with John Lennon, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's how Phil ended up with just a very tenuous connection. Phil's friend, the journalist Paul Williams, attended that bed-in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I keep forgetting whether it's Toronto or Ontario. It didn't mean much to me at the time, but John and Yoko were singing Give Peace a Chance, and they had many guests in their hotel room singing along with them. And Paul Williams already knew Phil, so he got on the phone and called Phil so Dr. Leary could tell Phil that he was a fan of his science fiction. That's really all there was to it. But when Leary was sent to prison on drug charges and then escaped, I'm sure that our government had at least the phone records from John Lennon's hotel room, if not actual wiretapping of the calls. And they saw this phone number and found out it was Phil's and went after him because President Nixon had called Timothy Leary the most dangerous man in the nation.
Yeah, I just find that the circle is so amazing. I know you, which is the closest I can get to, knowing Philip. And I actually had a meeting with Timothy Leary back when I was a journalist. We were waiting in line to speak with him after he did some of his lectures. They were kind of like telelectures with TV and computers and everything. It was when everything was in its infancy. And he called on me to come meet with him in the back room. And so I had a one-on-one interview with Timothy Leary, and it was interesting. It was probably about a year or two before he passed away. I was able to talk with him and meet him face to face. It was an amazing experience.
Wow. Well, most human beings have an innate need to alter their minds, whether it's drugs or alcohol or meditation, religion, or even political affiliation. We need to see things in a different light.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see anything wrong with trying a drug like LSD. I ate blue mushrooms once.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know they were illegal, and the statute of limitation has passed, but it was an amazing experience. Just don't ever look in the mirror when you've eaten psilocybin mushrooms. You'll be sorry.
Well, it's interesting you should talk about people want to alter their minds through religion or drugs or something. It's called ascendancy, and the idea that you want to ascend to a different realm, and you do that. It's whatever gets you high, whether it be exercise or something. And I think the technocracy wants to eliminate that. I think that they just want to eliminate whatever it means to be human. They want to turn us into platforms that can be played with. What do you think?
I think it smacks of freedom, and that's what they hate the most. Or liberty. Maybe liberty's a better word. I mean, God gave us freedom. It's ours, can't be taken away, but our liberty can be restricted.
Yeah. I always said the greatest evil is take away liberty, where they tell you have a choice, and it's really not a good choice no matter what choice you make. And I think that's the epitome of evil, the idea that you're fooling people, coercing people into doing things. And that's why one of the biggest evils of all is anyone telling you have to take a vaccine or you're not going to get a job, or you have to be injected. It's the equivalent of saying you got to have sex with me or you're not going to get a job. It's just an ugly time we live in. Tessa, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today on Channel Weird. It was great talking to you again.
Oh, it was wonderful talking with you.
And you take care of yourself. We'll be looking forward to your new books and your new writings about the exegesis. I'm fascinated with it. I'd like to see more. Thank you again. That's Channel Weird. we'll do this again, I think in 2 weeks. So join us in 2 weeks. We'll see you soon.